I never expected to find love again, especially not in the chaos of a coffee shop with a 5-year-old spilling hot chocolate on my new shirt. But sometimes life's greatest gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. This is the story of how meeting Ellie changed everything, not just for me, but for my daughter Hannah too. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this story of unexpected connections and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories that might just restore your faith in modern dating. Trust me, this one has a twist you won't see coming. The dating app notification had pinged 3 days earlier. Sarah, 34, teacher, loves hiking and classic movies. Her profile mentioned nothing about children. Neither did mine. It wasn't that I was hiding Hannah, she was my world, but dating as a single dad was complicated enough without leading with that information. I arrived 15 minutes early to the cafe, nervously adjusting my collar and rehearsing conversation starters. When the bell above the door chimed, I looked up to see a woman with warm brown eyes and a hesitant smile. But she wasn't alone. Clutching her hand was a little girl with the same eyes, wearing a princess dress under her winter coat. My heart sank. This wasn't what I had signed up for. I'd arranged for my sister to watch Hannah specifically to avoid the awkwardness of a first date with children present. Dating with kids was a delicate dance, one I believed should start with adults establishing a connection before bringing children into the equation. Sarah approached my table, uncertainty written across her face. "You must be David," she said. "And this is Ellie. I'm so sorry, my babysitter canceled last minute, and I didn't have your number to reschedule." Ellie looked up at me with solemn eyes. "Mommy says you might be mad that I came." Something in that honest little voice struck me. I remembered all the times I'd been judged as a single father, all the dates who disappeared when they learned about Hannah, all the moments I'd felt like my daughter and I were a package deal that nobody wanted to purchase. "Actually," I said, pulling out a chair for each of them, "I'm really glad to meet you, Ellie." Sarah's relief was palpable. Most men run for the hills when they see I have a daughter. I smiled. "Well, I have a confession too." I pulled out my phone and showed her my lock screen, a photo of Hannah and me at the beach. "She's with my sister today." The tension between us dissolved into laughter. What followed was not the date either of us had planned, but something better. Ellie colored while Sarah and I talked about the challenges of single parenthood, about the guilt and the joy, about bedtime routines and school projects. When Ellie spilled her hot chocolate, I didn't flinch, I just helped clean up, remembering all the times Hannah had done the same. "You're not like other guys' mommy dates," Ellie announced as I handed her extra napkins. "They get all weird and talk to me like I'm a baby." Sarah blushed. "Ellie." But I laughed. "Well, you're clearly not a baby. What grade are you in?" "First. I can read chapter books now." Our coffee date stretched into lunch. Sarah was different from women I'd dated before, there was no pretense, no games. She understood the constant balancing act of parenthood and career, the way your heart walks around outside your body once you have a child. 2 weeks later, Hannah and Ellie met at a playground. I watched nervously as they circled each other, these two little girls who had grown used to being the only child in their respective homes. But children have a way of cutting through complications. Within minutes, they were racing down slides together, co-creating elaborate stories about the monkey bars being a spaceship. "They get along well," Sarah said, standing beside me. "Better than we could have hoped," I agreed. The months that followed weren't perfect. We navigated jealousies and boundaries, homework struggles and bedtime negotiations. There were moments when Hannah asked if Sarah was trying to replace her mother, and times when Ellie tested my patience deliberately, seeing how far she could push before I'd leave like other men had. But there were beautiful moments too. The first time we took a weekend trip together, the girls insisting on sharing a hotel room. The night Ellie had a nightmare and, half asleep, called for me instead of Sarah. The afternoon Hannah asked if Sarah could come to her school play, saving a seat between her and me. 6 months into our relationship, I planned a picnic at the park where our daughters had first met. Sarah thought it was just a spring celebration, but I had a ring in my pocket and a question in my heart. What I hadn't planned was for Hannah and Ellie to be in on the surprise. As I began to kneel, both girls rushed forward with handmade signs. Hannah's read, "Say yes," while Ellie's proclaimed, "We want to be sisters." Sarah's hands flew to her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You three planned this together?" Hannah nodded solemnly. "Dad was scared you might say no. So we told him we'd help," Ellie added. "Because we're already a family anyway." Through her tears, Sarah looked at our daughters, these fierce, loving girls who had somehow known before we did that we belonged together. Then she looked at me, still kneeling, still holding the ring. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." Our wedding was small, with Hannah and Ellie as our only attendants. They held the rings and the flowers, but more importantly, they held the future we were building, a blended family born not from obligation but from choice. People often ask what made that first date different, why I didn't walk away when I saw Ellie. The truth is simple, in that moment, I saw not an inconvenience but a reflection of my own journey. I saw a mother doing her best, a child being brave in an adult world, and the possibility that love doesn't have to follow a conventional path to be real. 3 years later, our family has grown. Sarah and I welcomed a son last spring, a baby brother that Hannah and Ellie dote on with equal measure. Our home is loud and messy and full of the kind of love that expands to include everyone. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about two people finding each other against all odds. Sometimes they're about two families becoming one, about children teaching adults how to open their hearts, about the courage it takes to build something new from the pieces of what came before. If you're out there wondering if second chances exist, if broken hearts can find wholeness again, if families can be created rather than just born into, the answer is yes. Sometimes all it takes is the courage to stay when everything in your past tells you to run, to see the spilled hot chocolate not as an inconvenience but as an invitation to something beautiful. Remember to like and subscribe for more stories that remind us all that love, in its purest form, is always worth the risk. Because sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful journeys.